Warning: this review contains violent and disturbing images. You've been warned. Also, with any review, it's an opinion, so please understand. Let me just start by saying Guillermo Del Toro is a strange guy. He's like the Hideo Kojima of the movie world. If you don't know who Hideo Kojima is, he's the guy who makes a lot of weird video games, like Metal Gear Solid, Zone of the Enders, and the new game that's coming out, Death Stranding, with Guillermo Del Toro, by the way. He can do anything he wants and get away with it, which is a rare sight in Hollywood today, especially for a minority like himself. But on to the review. To be perfectly honest, I didn't really like this film, which is sad. This movie has been hyped like no tomorrow for me since I was little, and it let me down just like Sarune. I remember being super scared of the movie when I was little because of the creepy monsters, but it's not really a horror film in my own opinion. It's more about the characters than anything, and that's something you really don't see much of in a horror film. Another quick thing is that the movie is entirely in Spanish. If you don't like subtitles, there isn't a redub of the movie, so you have to watch it with subtitles. If you are watching it dubbed, you'd lose a lot of the original meaning anyway. I personally prefer no subtitles because when I watch a film, I want to focus on the entire frame and not on both the subtitles and the frame. Even if you don't need the subs, they will always draw the eye to the bottom of the screen. Then you look up to see the rest of the screen, and the brain can't multitask. But anyway, the movie's premise goes like this. A young girl named Ophelia and her mother live in war times of 1944 in Spain. Life is tough, and it gets even tougher when they're transported to a camp with her new father, because her old father passed away in the war. The mother is pregnant, and the father is the worst person to ever exist. The actor, Sergei Lopez, does a great job expressing his cruel nature through actions and words. The girl doesn't accept the father, obviously, and finds a fairy. This fairy leads her to a labyrinth that houses a faun with no spoken name that we hear. The faun tells her that she's the princess of the underworld, and the only way to get there is to follow the 3 tasks the faun tells her. This movie's like a demented Alice in Wonderland, like Alice in Wonderland isn't demented enough. It's a really weird movie, but it makes that up with charm. It switches between Ophelia's adventure and the activities of the real world. Now let me tell you right now that I think this movie is very well made. The transitions make the film smooth, using edge wipes and nice cuts like I did with my rotoscoping video. The story is told well by switching between Ophelia and the activities of the real world, like I said before. The characters are really good too, showcasing their personalities through their actions, although some look really weird looking. The whole concept itself is also super interesting. Now why didn't I like it? It's simple. It's boring. Since they didn't show much, if not any of the underworld, I can't really connect with it or trust the faun. That faun is always around in dark places, which usually spells trouble in the world of film. The real world parts take place in the wartime, with the father as the captain of a little squad of men. They're fighting against the rebels and the captain tracks them down. The main maid, Mercedes, helps out the rebels. The doctor we meet in the beginning, Ferrero, also helps out the rebels. People really don't like the captain because of his cruel and unusual punishment. Warning, this scene contains heavy violence.
Me lo ha matado. Asesino. Hijo de puta.
He literally kills these innocent farmers to prove a point. Speaking of violence, while there isn't a lot of it, there are parts that are very disturbing, both creepy and violent. Lots o' blood. From the beginning to halfway through the movie, I thought, the whole revel part is pretty unnecessary until the halfway point, where a certain thing is said, then it clicked. By the way, this whole movie was just me hoping something was gonna happen, or for answers for the significance of things. and I guess I just didn't expect the ending. It's hard to explain, I guess. I just felt bored at the rebels and their cause. It doesn't focus enough on them for me to care. The captain, on the other hand, they focused on him so much that you just learn to hate him so much, because he just sucks big time. Okay, I really want to talk about why this movie is loved so much, but to do that, I need to address some huge spoilers. So if you care, spoiler warning. I realize one of the reasons why people like this movie so much is because it gets you to think. While Ophelia is doing the last of her trials, the captain is chasing her because she needs the baby for the last trial. Ophelia is talking with the fawn, and the captain comes waltzing in and doesn't see the fawn. This could mean one of two things. Either Ophelia is making all this up, or she's the only one who can see the underworld creatures. The first theory is plausible because so much bad happens in her life, with her father dying, her mother remarrying to a terrible person, and her being involved in the war. She could be using this to cope. The other theory is possible as well, though. She is a princess who can only read a book if she's alone. She's a kid who has whimsy, so she could have the crazy amount of imagination to believe in these things, because maybe you need to believe to see it. The mother in the movie tells her that all this is make-believe because magic isn't real, but she clearly sees it. Now, whether it's her imagination or reality, we don't know. The parallels between the reality and fantasy is actually pretty good. With the horror of war going on in reality, the fantasy could be her twisted imagination from all the rough stuff going on, trying to make sense of it in a fun and exciting manner. Lots of interpretations, so that's pretty cool, I guess. But I hate movies like this. Blade Runner is my favorite example. Just like this movie, it looks good, has an interesting premise, and interesting characters. But it suffers from the same problem of waiting till the end of the movie to see something happen. When it's just not fulfilling, then it's a big problem. Sure, they make you think and theorize, like with this movie. There's a question of, is Deckard a replicant or not, which is cool and fun. But when the entire movie is boring with nothing to keep me interested throughout, I kinda wished it to be over. These movies suck you in, with interesting premises and great direction, but the direction the story goes is mostly disappointing. I wanted to like this movie too, because it's by Guillermo Del Toro, but it's just so boring and uninteresting. Now, I really shouldn't say uninteresting, but it was pretty boring. Maybe I have to watch it again like Blade Runner, but right now, I didn't enjoy it. If you want to watch this movie, it's on Netflix currently. Hey everyone, if you haven't already, please follow my socials. You'll find important info about when next videos are coming and some fun news, at least on Twitter. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, please. See you in the next video.